Good morning. Thank you for being here today. First of all, I want to take a quick moment to emphasize that I am testing negative for COVID 19. I quarantined for the required period and that I have been cleared to be back at City Hall. I feel great and I can't wait to get my second booster when I can. But to the matter at hand today, it's been an incredibly difficult few weeks for the city and our region. We've seen three elected leaders resign, including the former board president, Louis Reed, just yesterday, amid troubling allegations of bribery and corruption. If proven to be true, the self dealing and corruption outlined in these indictments is completely unacceptable, illustrating how little these three individuals thought of their colleagues, of the people they were elected to serve, and of our entire city. The pay to play allegations in the indictment speak for themselves. What we can't measure are the businesses, the grocery stores, the homes that never came to St. Louis, particularly North St. Louis, because of issues like these. While I wholeheartedly believe that people are innocent until proven guilty, I also recognize, and I think our city does too, that the disturbing federal corruption charges brought against Louis Reed, Jeffrey Boyd, and John Collins Muhammad prevented them from doing the job that they were elected to do, to faithfully serve the residents of St. Louis. City residents will be better served by residents who are not facing federal indictments, and all three did the right thing by resigning. Now, our city can take the first tentative steps to move forward. Anyone who's followed City Hall knows that despite my administration's best efforts, President Louis Reed fought me from the day that I first stepped into this office. He refused to meet with me and my staff time and time again about the American Rescue Plan or other key issues. Jeffrey Boyd fought me since I became treasurer in 2012. And according to the indictment, John Collins Muhammad said that I'm on his shit list for trying to stop him from giving out illicit tax abatements. And that language says everything that needs to be said. But the charges outlined in the indictments go beyond any personal or political disagreements. The U.S. Attorney has pulled back the curtain on how certain politicians can exploit our city government for their own personal gain and profit. Let me be absolutely clear. No one wins in this situation. When politicians break the law to serve themselves instead of the people they were elected to serve, everyone loses. Everyone, including political opponents and the families of those indicted. I understand firsthand what it's like to keep loving someone unconditionally, even as they face consequences for their actions. That's a feeling families across St. Louis empathize with. Each day, I have taken time to pray for the families of those indicted, for those who have seen their futures thrown into limbo this past week. I know what it's like. So, to all who are listening, please give grace and pray for those who are suffering through no fault of their own. All of us in this room follow what happens in this building, this office, because it's our job to do so. But I also understand that most St. Louisans don't follow all of the back and forth, every single city hall tit for tat. While local government is important, and I'd argue the most important level of government, St. Louisans are busy people, concerned about making ends meet, how they'll put food on the table, or pay for childcare this month, or rent. And I want St. Louisans to know that no matter the political intrigue of the day, my office remains laser focused on delivering and improving services that touch people's lives on a daily basis. Fixing our roads, picking up the trash and recycling, protecting communities from COVID-19, making our neighborhoods safer, and creating opportunities for our young people and their families. St. Louis is heading into a new era, uncharted territory. None of us have a crystal ball, and we cannot predict if there are more federal indictments to come. But here's what I do know. St. Louisans' faith in their government has been shaken once again, betrayed by those who allegedly sought to use their public office for private profit. As elected officials, we recognize the trust we often hold is fragile. In this case, that confidence has been shattered by the serious corruption charges outlined in these federal indictments against 3 prominent elected leaders. Some steps are already being taken to pull these pieces back together and restore integrity. SLDC has been working to create a more transparent, accountable tax incentive system, and that work continues. Earlier this week, SLDC announced a freeze on LRA transactions from July to October as the agency looks to assess and standardize its practices and processes. And an important point for clarity. According to SLDC, LRA did not grant an abatement for the property in question. The developer will be required to pay current taxes and any and all future incremental taxes on this project. My administration is currently reviewing potential ethics language and legislation that the city can implement to guarantee that elected leaders work for the people who elected them, not special interests and insiders. I also reached out to Interim President Joe Vollmer, to discuss how we can best work together to serve city residents in the coming months. President Vollmer stressed his commitment to using his time to help restore integrity to the board, and I believe that is a sentiment worthy of respect. I also look forward to working alongside him through the November election to fill the board president position, and I'm asking the public to give him a chance to lead as he takes on a role that he did not seek. In my State of the City address, I emphasized that the status quo has not delivered on its promises for St. Louis. All it takes is a quick drive past where my grandfather's house was on Julian before it burned down, or through our neighborhoods left behind after decades of neglect, or past any of the vacant buildings or vacant lands dotting our neighborhoods. This past week is yet another example of how the status quo has worked well for insiders and the well-connected, but not for everyday St. Louisans. It has not made us safer. It has not made us fairer. It has not made us more prosperous. And it's the status quo that brought us here today, responding to yet another indictment. I said yesterday that this is a dispiriting but necessary moment of reflection for St. Louis. This is a stain on our city, but it will not prevent us from becoming fairer, safer, and stronger. As elected leaders, we must think big and work together to begin the difficult work of rebuilding a fragile trust and integrity that these disturbing corruption charges have shattered. Thank you.
All right, we've got time for 3 questions.
Mayor, you said that the problem runs deeper than a few individuals. You mentioned that yesterday. What do you know, describe why you use that phrase? The problem runs deeper than a few individuals.
Well, we've known that automatic courtesy has been something that has been at the board for a long time. We don't know how many other people are involved, and I think that there are more federal indictments to come. I don't know that, but I think that this is the tip of the iceberg.
Who's the developer involved?
Certain part of the indictments that particularly disturb you, one area more than the other? Is it the overall sense of it, or is there one area that really stands out in your mind as particularly troubling about was alleged?
I think that all of it's troubling. The bribery, the corruption, the trading money for tax abatements and tax incentives, it's all very troubling. And so we'll just follow the process as it goes through the judicial system.
The city of St. Louis elects a board of alderman president in many ways to be a check on you, on the mayor's office. Considering how the public trust has soured, and considering the work you have ahead with all the COVID money and the Ram settlement money, how can you go about distributing all those funds before the city has a chance to weigh in and elect that next leader? Or should that process wait
I think that process should continue. We should continue the work of the city of St. Louis. We have an interim president in President Joe Vollmer. He's been on the board for many, many years. He is versed in how the board works. So I think that we should continue that process because the clock is ticking on ARPA funds. So we have to move. We have to continue that work.
If it's
All
not-
right,
it's not-
Mayor.
Thank you.
5 more minutes.
Yeah, Mayor, have you ever been approached with cash offers, Mayor?
When was it learned that